Folks, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a Pocket Change Market Report. Oh my goodness. Great time to be alive because we are going through some coins in the hopes of looking for some of these errors and varieties that you're going to see on video today. Now, where exactly do we find these coins? Well, it's real simple. If you're an avid change hunter like I am, you like to go to the bank, pick up some bank rolls. Yeah, we don't think about that too often, but those are great ways to find some pretty nice errors varieties, maybe throw in a key date or maybe a silver coin or two in the mix. These are all things that you can find that have real true value above and beyond face value. That's the cool part. But you're also going to see there are coins here on this list today that people have cherry-picked at coin shops, coin shows. Maybe people with an astute eye goes on eBay and finds, say, a variety that was missed by the seller. These are all other ways that you can enhance your collection or make it a true second income. I know a lot of people that do it, myself included, that, it's a great sport. What can I say? But we have just a really great lineup of coins. We have a lot of errors that we haven't traditionally seen on any other date of coin until now, ladies and gentlemen. So you're going to have to pay attention to a few of these coins. Maybe you've come across one. You might have one in your collection. But most importantly, all the coins sold on eBay here within the last 24 hours. That's right, 24 hours. That's how stacked the lineup is. Usually we have about 48 hours of data today, just 24 hours. I mean, it was quite busy. But you're going to find every single coin to be raw, ungraded. Okay, that's important because when you go and send these coins out to a company like PCGS or NGC to grade them, it costs money. So when you grade, say, that $20 error coin, it's not going to be worth so much more than $20, even when it's a graded slab. So sometimes not sending it to a grader is probably one of the best decisions you'll ever make in this hobby. So be sure you recognize what you have. A lot of the coins sell for themselves. And a lot of the images that you see are going to be original to the listings. So you're going to come across particular coins on the list. They're going to be a little out of focus. Some of them are going to be sharp as a tack. You're going to know about a little photography session in this one as well. So let's go ahead and see what has sold this edition. This is our Saturday edition of the PCMR. Starting out with a coin that I forgot even existed. The 2008 P Cumberland Island National Park Quarter. This coin has a lot of things going on, so pay attention. First and foremost, we're going to focus on the obverse of the coin. You're going to see a lot of these parallel kind of die scratches here around Washington's bust. All right, these are called feeder finger scrapes. The feeder finger helps place the coin in the striking chamber during the whole action of the strike. And then sometimes that feeder finger scrapes up against that working die. Therefore, any coins that are subsequently struck will have these scratches. Pretty neat. But also at the same time, be on the lookout for strike throughs as well. Because these feeder fingers, once they make contact with the working dies, they're notorious for having some sort of grease on them. And what they'll do is the feeder finger will push the grease around the die. It'll somehow, some way get struck onto a coin as an absence of some design. It's going to look like a little pit right on your coin. In this particular case, it's on the reverse. We have a little bit of a strike through here on the tip of this, what is that, an egret or, crane or some sort of bird right there on the reverse. When we get in a little bit closer, you'll see the strike through right there. So this coin was struck through just a little bit of grease. Maybe a little bit of debris of some sort in there. And you're going to also see a little bit of what appears to be feeder finger scrapes, but I'm pretty sure this is probably a little bit more of the grease just kind of splattered around on there. So a coin like this that traditionally would be overlooked by a lot of folks, and keep in mind the coin is circulated, sold for $13.57. And that's how we're going to kick it off today on the PCMR. The next one that we have here is just a quick little update on the big, huge 2021 Lincoln Shield set with the later advanced retained cud die break. This thing got all sorts of just talk last year when it was first discovered, right around the holidays. And the coins are still valuable. People are finding them. The coins are coming out a little bit more circulated each time because we're roughly about 9 months removed from when these were first discovered. This particular example here in this condition sold for $350. This is probably one of the biggest high dollar chase coins that you could find in modern coins today. These are being found on the East Coast. There was a period of time that we thought that these were only found in the state of Virginia, but it turns out that people are finding them in various other areas of the East Coast as well. So make sure you're looking out for this. This is like the biggest big dollar chase coin currently right now, and it's one that you shouldn't miss. The next one that we have here is a 1980s Jefferson Nickel. So there's no readable date on here, and it's understood because of a pretty sizable curved clip. Now, on this particular coin, this is a really nice higher grade specimen. I would say it's mid-state. This one right here also has a pretty sharp Blakesley effect happening here. And this is something to look out for on these clips. The more genuine clips, and they don't all have Blakesley effects, but most of them do. It's going to be a flattening of the opposite edge area, usually relegated to the rim and any devices that are pressed up against that rim, like the word trust here. So, yeah, you know, there's absence of a proto rim, which is important, which means this was not ground down intentionally to make it look like a clip. This one right here sold for $11.99 with 2 bids. While not wildly valuable, you know, being able to score a $10 bill for a coin like this, that otherwise is just worth 5 cents face value, is a pretty good trade-off. Here's a 1999 P Jefferson Nickel. We got more nickel love in this this one here. This is a really nice sized centered broad strike. So the coin is actually a lot bigger than a standard nickel. It's probably close to the size of a standard US quarter. There was no collar present when this was struck, so a lot of the metal flow went outwards. And this is kind of like that final end product that you see here as a result of a malfunctioning collar. This particular coin right here is sold for a staggering sum of cash, $71.69, with 12 total bids accumulating to that amount of money. Our first piece of currency is actually a good looking one here. This is a 1969 $1 bill, and without turning the note over, the error is on the front. What do you guys see? Some of you, very astute collectors out there probably see it already. But we have a mismatched serial number. Take a look at the second number in both serial numbers. We have a 7, we have an 8, mismatched. They're supposed to be matching. This is a fantastic error. These were found in a little bit older notes, but more recently you could find these, I believe, 1995 $1 bills. But these are all incredibly coveted, very valuable. This particular instance, this note here sold for $449, which these things have been going up and up and up here in the last, I would say, year or so. It used to be that this note was right around $250, as I had one of them in my collection at one point. But these, even in raw condition, still continue to command what I feel like is top of the market. So make sure you're looking out for these. If you're cherry picking at a local coin shop or show, these are actually really easy to miss by dealers. So especially ones that don't really have currency as their core kind of product for their tables. So make sure you're looking out for these, and they're always a good rip when you do. There's the back showing just how good looking the note is. It's kind of debatable if this is a crisp uncirculated note. I don't see any folds, but it only takes is one little wrinkle somewhere in there, which is not really easy to see to determine the grade. And here's a 1997 P Roosevelt Dime. This is this could be an off-center strike, or it could be a really uncentered broad strike. Okay, it's really close. But again, these are all collected by various denominations by date. So when there's a date that comes along that's a little bit more scarce than the others of this particular era, they will command a little bit more money. Case in point, this one ended up selling for $29.84 with 2 total bids on that one. Now, this looks relatively minor, and the condition kind of throws off this vibe like, hey, you know, I'm not really that special. Just go ahead and toss me back. But, you know, again, if you know what you're looking for, you're really in good shape here. This is a 1945S Lincoln Wheat Cent with just a very small rim clip. Okay, you still have a little bit of Blakesley. I can see that right here. But yeah, even things like this, you know, that used to be worth about a quarter to 50 cents 2 years ago, these all of a sudden have been just bursting at the seams with all sorts of desirability. And I think people are collecting these by date, seeing as how all the other major errors are quite expensive and out of hand. People are going to gravitate towards other areas of error coin collecting where they're just a little bit more affordable. This one sold for $13.37. Okay, let that be a lesson. These sell. Now, this is a very, you know, just kind of, I don't know. It looks like just 3 regular candy $half. Someone did a little roll hunting, probably found these. But at first glance, they don't look like anything special, right? It looks like $1.50's worth of candy $half. But we have 3 actually pretty decent coins. Okay, without even going any further, this 1972 has this slightly broad struck area to it. It's a little bit bigger than the 2 other coins that you see there. But the 71D and the 1980 are these partial collars. So you can see the railroaded edge right there. The collar was a little bit tilted or not fully engaged during the strike. The collar, of course, is a die in itself that has the reeds in them. All right, so the collar is what puts these little gripped reeded edges on some of these coins. So as you can see right there, that's what the 71 and the 1980 are, and then the third coin there is the broad struck example. Now keep in mind they did use a clothespin to put them together. I don't personally recommend that. Furthermore, you have all 3 coins sandwiched together, which could cause more damage. There are other better ways of showcasing the edges of these coins. This is probably not my favorite way of this. So all 3 coins together sold for $14. Again, I always tell folks, look out for the bulkier kind of volume type of lots. You can really make money off of these, and buying them at a cheaper rate and then selling them individually is really where it's at. At $14, I think there's some money to be made here. Like these partial collars, I could probably list for about $10-15 a piece, and the broad strike, albeit a little bit minor, probably worth a $10 bill. So you could easily double up your money on a lot like this. Now here's a really good looking 2000 P Jefferson Nickel. This one is off center, I would say by about 15-ish%. It's a very good looking mid-state example with full steps. It's got a very nice strike on there. Most 2000 Jeffersons do. They're very, very well struck. This one right here sold for $58.78. Again, another coin that looks at first glance quite minor and probably unassuming, kind of like that clip that we saw a few slides ago. Here's a 1945D Lincoln Wheat Cent with a strike through right above the date, or that call that maybe a detached lamination at some point that just recirculated. They look very similar to each other. This one sold for $13.46. Again, the devil is in the details. Things as small and minor as this, actually, when you take good pictures, you can make some pretty good money off of them. And here's a pretty cool one too, not one that you traditionally see for this date, 1982 Lincoln Memorial Cent. A lot of weakness in the strike here, and that is really attributed to the grease that were on the dies during this process of striking a few coins. You're going to get a lot of flatness, a lot of the peripheral area devices are going to be quite obliterated. All the grease does flow outwards toward the rim area during the striking process. So that's why you do see a lot more weakness on the edges. Let's see, this one right here ended up selling for $27.80. Always look out for these. These will pop up unexpectedly on just about any date and any denomination of coin. Okay, so now we're starting to see a little bit of a downward price movement of the 2022 Lincoln Shield cents with the clashed dies. This is the recently cataloged in Mad Die Clash's website as being the big top dog clash die coin of 2022. These were selling for between $30 and $40. This one particular coin here, although it does have a few spots on the obverse, did not quite meet that range. This one right here, as you can tell, also has that strong clashing on the obverse. There's really not a whole lot of big clashing on the reverse. A few areas within the shield, but this is the main kind of like focal point of the coin. This particular example right here only managed to sell for $24.39 with 9 total bids. So this is a coin that was organically bid up over a number of days, and yeah, we're beginning to see as more of these are being found, the prices kind of settle into something that's a little bit more manageable, and as more people are finding these, expect the price to dip a little bit further. If you do have them and you have like more than you need, probably a good time to sell them while they still have some sort of value attached to them. All right, so this is going to be a little bit of a public service announcement. Now, you guys know my affinity for kind of headhunting big groups of coins, right? Stuff where you could, buy and then you could list the coins, the currency individually, and try and make some money out of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right away, this is a lot of about 300 plus coins and currency. A lot of errors. There might be some varieties in there. It's very unspecified, so this is why this is a PSA. You need to be kind of wary about these kind of listings. But yeah, 300 plus items. It sold for $616.50 with 54 bids. So there is a lot of bidding activity. This one right here, the reason why it's going to be kind of a very risky buy, even at $600, is there may be half the amount of value here off of how much was paid. Here's a few close-ups. Again, the pictures were really not that good. A lot of the coins were in these 2x2 holders. You could read some of the information on there. A lot of the pricing, if it's applicable, quite embellished on here, like this 55 Lincoln cent doubled profile, which is just mechanical strike doubling, is not a $340 coin. So, there's that example. But yeah, just go ahead and take a close look. There apparently is a Morgan dollar. I think it's a 1900p. There's 4 circulated Walking Liberty half dollars. I believe they're all kind of like the common date variety, but you can see just all the different coins here. Different handwriting on some with a little bit older 2x2s, cracked skulls, things like that. We would go into the currency. There was a number of pieces of currency. I'm just showing you a couple. We have a 1928A funny back and a $5 silver certificate that's also added into the mix. And all the coins were in these 2x2 double row boxes, as showcased here in this image. And then finally, this is the kind of like the extent of the description of this lot. So it really leaves a lot of information that's not available for anyone to really, determine if this is a good deal or not. And again, this is going to be a very risky buy for anyone that gets it at $600. Over 300 carded wheat pennies, potential of error coins, of course, and key dates and mostly all S mint marks. There's also one 1900 Morgan dollar, brilliant uncirculated. I'm going to say no, it's not brilliant uncirculated. It's around like an AU 58-ish. It's a slider, but it's a very common date, all right? Extremely high-end piece. There was one 1928 $1 blue seal funny back note, a 53 $2 bill, legal tender red seal, a 34 $5 blue seal silver certificate, one 1900 Morgan dollar. They put that in there twice, And 4X Walking Liberty half dollars, 90% silver. So that's what you're getting. No other information of note on any of the other coins, and they're all stacked into a pile. So there's a lot of coins that aren't, known. There's a lot of unknowns with this lot. And again, I believe the seller has a no return policy, but if things aren't as described, you could always send it all back. You can, because in those instances, eBay will side with the buyer. All right, getting back to the more relevant stuff, here's a 1923 S Peace Dollar. This is cool. I haven't seen one of these in quite some time, especially on an S Mint Peace Dollar. This one right here is a what they call a rim cut break. So you can see this raised area. I bet you guys probably had seen it at the first image, but there's a close-up for you. It's right over the R in Liberty. And this particular coin right here sold for, where is it? $98 is what I ended up selling at. And the coin, guys, is probably a $30 to $35 coin if you cherry picked it at like a coin shop. And if you have good eyes and you pick this out of the bunch, you'll about 3x your money. Okay, so I've always found that these bulk 90% silver lots that coin dealers have is a great place to cherry pick for things like this that represent a true value to collectors. Now here's one right here that I haven't seen in quite some time. It's probably been maybe 6 months since I've talked about the this double to die reverse on the 2015 P Homestead Washington quarter. All right, this is referred to as the doubled pump handle, and there are a bunch of different double dies for this date. It's just mind-blowing. But you can see the doubled pump handle. This is WDDR number 4. This is like the one that's well known because it's got a true, very, very nice detailed double to die on there. And this is the main pump handle right here. So you got the doubling of this part right here as well. So this particular coin right here, guys, sold for $48.99. These are also trending up as well, because it's in short supply. There's not nearly as many of them on eBay as there used to be back, probably as recently as a year ago. So back then, they were selling for about $20 to $25. Again, another coin that people see the value. It's a very strong double die, and these prices have doubled as a result. Now, here's another date of Roosevelt Dime that you just don't see clips that often. You just don't. Here's a 1972 D Rosie. Pretty nice sized curved clip on this one. This one right here sold for $18.99. There's not really a whole bunch else you can say about it. It's just a very strong clip on a very different type of date. All right, so this is a rather out of focus picture, but there were a few of these that were sold on eBay here in the last couple days. These are the infamous duplicate star 2013 $1 bills, the Washington, D.C. BEP facility and the Fort Worth facility printed the same serial numbers in star note fashion. So, these are kind of like the talk of the town right now. People are looking to match up the DC and Fort Worth serial number printings as a set, and they get quite valuable if you're able to do that. I've seen some notes sell, or pairings of notes sell in excess of $1,000, and people have been grading them. So yeah, this one right here looks to be a Washington, D.C. print. It doesn't have the Fort Worth FW here at the printing plate. So that's pretty neat. This particular note right here sold for $33.59 with 17 bids. The DC printed notes command about a 25% higher premium than the Fort Worth ones, because those notes were printed in 2014, I believe, while the Fort Worth notes were printed in 2017, so they're a little bit more accessible for those people hunting through straps of dollars. Here's just a really nice 1999 off-center struck Lincoln Memorial cent. It's off-center by about 10%. One of the more common dates of this particular era, this one right here, sold for $16.79. Again, another older coin that doesn't look like much. To some, it looks damaged, but this is actually a very nice lamination on a 1942 Lincoln wheat cent. The coin is very well loved. It's got, it's circulated to the point where a lot of grease and grime had made its way into the lamination area, which is still pretty much retained. Not quite a clamshell, because a clamshell would be pretty close to this edge here. This is still on the surface of the coin. Very nice, very dramatic looking example here that did sell for $27.30 with 10 total bids. All right, so the Tuskegee Airmen is going to get a little bit of talk here in this episode. Here's just a really nice premium piece. Very nice high-graded specimen. 2021 P is going to be your target date for the final year of the ATB quarters. This one right here, not for the strike through, but for the die chips. There's a bunch of die chips you can find on the Tuskegee Airmen, and people actually do adorn to them quite a bit, to the point where they do pay a little bit of money for them. For example, this one right here is sold for $5. Again, it's not nothing. That's 20 times face value. And a really, really neat little piece. And there are some coins with much bigger die chips, like on these airplanes, around the letters, on top of the goggles of one of the airmen. So pretty neat. They're all worth something. I think $5 is the minimum that I've seen on a lot of these. You'll probably profit about $3 after shipping and fees. So, it all adds up. It goes into the same bucket, but, you want to fill in your eBay store with smaller listings like these that you could consistently sell throughout the week. Okay, this is a really neat one. If you guys aren't aware of the just amazing amount of VAM varieties that you can find on Morgan and Peace dollars, you're really missing out. A lot of the coins are quite valuable and quite desirable. Like this one here. This is the 1900 O over CC Mint Morgan dollar. This puppy right here looks like it was probably plucked out of a group of 90% silver halves. It's not a, beautiful piece by any stretch. Those coins would be just bonkers as far as value. But what do we have here? So on these ones, to know that these are the over mint mark, these have the O, and then they got kind of like that horn kind of like style tips coming out of the right side. That's actually one of the C's. On the earlier states, you could actually see the full Carson City mint mark. Like this, you can see a little bit right here, and then you can see these horns right here coming out of the O. This is a really good one. This is rivaling the O over S 1882 that I love cherry picking myself. This particular coin sold for $88.75 with 22 bids. This is actually a common variety, and the reason why it doesn't sell for more than that in this condition is because there's quite a few out there to meet demand. But boy, do they have a really nice secondary market value. All right, Statehood quarter errors are still the rage in any condition. Here's a 2000 D Denver, Maryland Statehood quarter. It's slightly off-center. It's not by much. You would even make the argument it's probably broad-struck as well, uncentered. This one sold for $14.15 with 8 bids. And people are collecting these by state, mint mark, and date. All right, we got another Morgan dollar here, this time in 1921. By far and away, the most commonly minted Morgan in existence. Mid-state examples tend to still command that $30 price range. All right, they're still affordable. Here's a really good one here. This has a pretty nice strike through right there in the middle of the N and E and 1. In addition, see how this is kind of like pebbled surfaces here. This has pitted dies, or it was struck with pitted dies. The dies had just a little bit of rust on them when these were struck. And again, this is a common occurrence that on some of these Morgan dollars, although the strike through pretty neat, very minor, very small. This one sold for $60.99 with 38 bids. Holy smokes, that's a lot of activity. All right. Oh boy. Well, here's our good old favorite talk of the town. The Maya Angelou and Sally Ride quarters are all the rage these days. This one right here has the pretty big strike through right on the hair and ponytail area. This one is actually quite strong and very large. But also on a minor note, this one has the corner of mouth little die chip as well. These are found on both the Mayas and the Sally Rides, so look out for them. What are these selling for today? Well, I'm happy to say that the market is still very, very healthy on these. This one example sold for $60. Yeah, and they say you can't find anything in today's coins. $60 to some people will fill up a gas tank. You know, used to be I could fill up my gas tank with $60. Man, how I miss those days. Whoa, another Morgan. Here's one I'm willing to bet a lot of you don't know exists. 1903 Morgan dollar is hardly a common date at all. If, as a matter of fact, any San Francisco minted early 1900s Morgan is quite tough. This one right here is on the list for a different reason. Not so much because of its status as being a semi-tough date, but, you know, the condition does play a part in that. This one is actually the Micro Mint Mark S. All right, so there's a regular size S, and then there's the really tiny micro S version. This is actually VAM number 2. It is indeed a top 100 VAM on VAMworld.com. Very nice, sold for $127.45 with 33 bits. This is a huge variety, and if you're into like stuff like this, always look out for it. Here's another favorite variety of mine, 1954 S over S Repunch Mint Mark. This is actually a decent looking example here with lots of mint red. There you go. So the secondary S is slightly west of the primary. You can see the double top curl of the S right here. Again, one that is not particularly hard to look for, but in nice condition, they are quite nice. This one here sold for $6.11 with 2 bits. Okay, so I've never really had the chance to talk about the 3-coin set of 40% bicentennial coins, which has the quarter, half dollar, and Ike dollar all in one set here. These are actually still very affordable today. I think they're right around 10 to 12 bucks, somewhere in that area. It might be even a little bit less. This one has the original government packaging, all right? So there's an error with this, not particularly a error that occurred during the minting process, but during the packaging. Yeah, you could see that the coin was crimped over. So the coin was probably in a spot where the crimp machine that actually sealed the coins into this plastic pouch accidentally hit the coin. So this is actually referred to as damage. There are people that collect mid-packaging errors, and this is where this one would fall into. So keep that in mind, even though not a mint error in the sense of the strike, this is a packaging error. This one right here is sold for $49.50, which is roughly about 3 to 3.5 times the value of the set. So keep this in mind. I have found a number of these, not specifically of this 3-coin set, but any of the proof or mint sets from yesteryear that were in these type of holders. Now here's just a really good, generous-looking 1930s Buffalo nickel with some lamination issues on both the obverse and reverse of the coin. Again, pretty par for the course. These are quite common here. This one sold for $19.99, probably a coin that was picked up for around $3-4. You know, dealers hate these things. They hate laminations. They're unattractive to them. All right, this is coming from talking with about 3 or 4 dealers, and they don't like buying them as an error. They'll just buy them for what they are as a coin. And so there was actually one guy that said, "Yeah, I only pay damaged money or details money for something like this." So it's a good opportunity for you to pick this up on the cheap and throw it back up on eBay if you're not a collector of this type, and make a few bucks in the process. And similarly, here's a 1933 Lincoln Wheat Cent Woody. So this a kind of unique patterning on the coin. has all brought upon the improper alloy mix of the planchets before they were made into the strips and planchets and ingots. This is what you get here. It's pretty neat, very commonly collected, anomaly, if you want to call it that. This particular example sold for $20. Some of the more interesting, very, very woody looking coins will command quite a bit of money, especially in mid-state condition. All right, this is probably the biggest broad-struck Lincoln cent that you will come across ever. All right, this is probably the biggest one that I've seen. It's probably close to being about the size of a quarter. Put that into perspective. Bigger than a nickel, close to the size of a quarter. That's how big this one is. Copper-coated zinc, cents, are tough to collect into because they do corrode with a little bit of moisture present. And this is a very nice broad strike, sold for $34.95. Any other broad strike of the same year that's not as big and impressive normally would sell for less than half this. So that tells you a lot right there. Here's another neat 1996 Philadelphia Roosevelt Dime. It's off center by about 30% on this one. Pretty nice. This one right here ended up selling for $48 with 18 bids. Based off of the sold price, I have a feeling that this is a scarce date for this type of error. I believe this might be our last piece of currency on this edition of the PCMR, but what we have here is a very robust partial back-to-front wet ink transfer. So the impression cylinder and the printing plates made contact without a sheet. All right, so there was a little bit of that ink residue or partial design from the printing plates to the impression cylinder. So any other subsequent notes that are printed will leave that reverse impression on the front and vice versa. This one right here sold for a lot of money. A lot. I don't know how much. Quite a bit. A lot. This one right here sold for right around $100. Pretty interesting note. And it's a lot. It's a newer one. It's a $1995 bill. There's a reverse there for you. Showing a centerfold. So this note had circulated a little bit, but not too much. I think the feature on the front of the note caught someone's eye, and it was immediately yanked from circulation. All right, so here we have a couple of Tuskegee Airmen with the strike-throughs on the buildings. So this first one right here is the more, I guess, subdued or minor of the two that we're going to show you today. These still have value, although prices are dropping by the week. And this one right here is a 2021 P. You're only going to find them on Philadelphia minted examples. Oh, by the way, that wet ink transfer did not sell for $100. All right, I lost my place on my list. Instead, it sold for $394.65 with 43 bids. So, yeah, I was off by about nearly $300 on that one. But back to the Tuskegee Airmen. This one example sold for $48 with 17 bids. So this one right here was a coin that sold for about $100 as recently as 4 or 5 months ago. As more of these, of course, come out circulated, or people have picked up the examples that they do need. All the other ones that pop up will command less money. I think the supply and demand have met to this good point where there's plenty of it to go around. And the same one for this one with the much bigger strike through and the secondary strike through under the plain wing. This is the one that everybody was fighting for a while. That sold as high as, I believe, $350, if you could believe it, during the holidays. Boy, what a fall from grace. But hey, still some value here. Sold for $97 this time around with 29 bids. So I wouldn't wait too long if you have these and you want to sell them. Now might be a good time, or you might want to wait until the holidays. We are entering summer. Traditionally, prices do dip a little bit during this time of year as collectors and dealers and all those folks head out and actually do some actual vacationing rather than play around with money. All right, so we haven't talked about one of these in this episode, but hey, it's going to be one of our final 2 coins of the PCMR. This is a 1980 Lincoln Memorial Cent that was struck through a late stage cap die. There was even a little bit of a tear in the cap because it did show as a raised looking crack here. Pretty nice. I mean, this is about as terminal and late stage as you could get for a cap die strike. This particular example, again, looks circulated all day long. So if you're telling me like, yeah, you can't find these in circulation, look at the coin. This was not pulled out at mint state. It wasn't saved at the mint through some backdoor shenanigans. This thing had made its way through a grocery store teller's hand or cashier's hand. It went through a bank teller. It went through a restaurant or a coffee shop. This one sold for $54.66 with 18 bits. And our final atypical error on a weird date, 1971 D Roosevelt Dime. It just goes to show you, look at every coin, all right? Don't narrow your focus on a specific date only because you know a number of various areas and varieties are only coming from that date. This one right here has a pretty amazing strike through on the obverse. That goes into Roosevelt's hair, down the back of his head, and then to the rim area. Yeah, not one that you come across. And this one, circulated. It's a very well circulated coin that sold for $29.95. And that's what we play for, ladies and gentlemen, the cash and prizes of being in the hobby, taking time out of our day to go search through dime rolls and all that great stuff. There's a lot of treasures still to be found out there. All right, I'm finding them and other people are, and people are coming away with pretty nice, compensation for these items. There's a huge collector base that wants these. That's going to go ahead and do it. Thank you again for joining. Hopefully this video give you a little inspiration on doing a little hunting of your own. If you have a favorite coin on this episode of the PCMR, would love to hear about it. Go ahead and post it below for your boy Blue. I read all the comments. And I do appreciate your guys' time and views and support of my channel. If you haven't done so, go ahead and check out my TikTok. I have a TikTok. I have like 92 followers. It's exciting. I wish I had more. A pretty big departure from the actual followers I have on YouTube. But go ahead and check it out. A lot of great stuff. Do a little hunting this summer. There's going to be plenty of time and opportunity as people head out for the summer months. There's a lot of free tendies to go around. So that's going to go ahead and do it. You guys take care. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on the next coin video. So long, my coinaholics.